Hello everybody, my name is Matt Walker. I'm a producer at Camouflaj, and I'm here today with...
And I'm Ryan Payton. I'm studio head of Camouflaj and director on Batman Arkham Shadow. First off, we just want to express a huge thanks to the Arkham Videos community for these incredible questions that you've all submitted. It was really difficult for us to choose our 10 favorite questions.
Only 10?
So we thought, why do 10 when you can do
20 questions this time. That's right.
So we're going to go through them. Some of them are a little more robust, and some of them are just rapid fire. So without any kind of further ado, let's get right into it.
All right, let's get to the questions. So, from the Dude 810 on Discord, Ryan, you guys mentioned that you pitched Batman Arkham Shadow to WB Games. Was this particular story always a part of that?
Right, yeah, so to go back in the Wayback Machine to fall of 2020 when we were first engaging with Warner Brothers Interactive and our studio Camouflaj and Meta, we both approached the company and said, hey, look, we really believe that not only a Batman game, a really big and robust Batman game built for the ground up for VR, for Quest, would be an incredible opportunity, but a Batman Arkham game in this franchise that we love so much, what do you think? Like, let's do something together. And thankfully, they were really very receptive to it. And yes, and to answer the question early on, we had some ideas about the story. We looked at the timeline, right? And it gets kind of jumbled towards the end of the Arkhamverse, wouldn't you say?
I think so, right? So it seems like there's definitely like a decent patch of timeline that we could kind of fill in, right? Maybe sometime after Origins, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, between Origins and Arkham Asylum, right? So we identified that fairly big gap in time, and we're pretty early in that timeline, not too far removed from Arkham Origins, where Batman's still fairly unrefined. What would you say?
I'd say that, Batman, he at this point in the timeline, he's a lot more passion than compassion.
And I think that's the perfect way to put it, right? We wanted him to go through a journey. We wanted to take him to some dark places. We wanted to grow as a character, and especially because this is a VR game and you become Batman, we wanted players to go through that journey as Batman. So that's what we pitched, and thankfully it's been a really terrific partnership working with Warner Brothers on this game, and really DC, obviously.
It's true. Next up, You Done Goof from YouTube asks, from the story trailer, the scope of the game seems pretty ambitious. How do you compare Arkham Shadow to your previous game, Marvel's Iron Man VR?
Well, I kind of want to throw that question back at you, Matt Walker, because you were the producer on Marvel's Iron Man VR, which we've released recently on Quest 2 back in, November 2020?
That's right? That's right,
just about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Pepper! Take my hand!
Tony!
Welcome to your connecting flight.
So what do you think? I mean, in terms of scope and scale of this game, is it around the same? Is it less than Iron Man VR? Is it more than Iron Man VR?
I'd say it's definitely more than Iron Man VR. I think we've put a lot of effort into really making sure that there's going to be enough content in here that Arkham fans are really going to enjoy, And so from what I can see, I think for Golden Path, we're looking at something that we're trying as much as possible to be close to Arkham Asylum, right?
Right, exactly. So somewhere between, I think, Iron Man VR and Arkham Asylum, we're going to try to get as close to Arkham Asylum as possible. And as you mentioned, in terms of the scope and scale of the game, very inspired by Asylum in particular, in terms of it's not open world, but it's definitely, the structure of the game is very inspired by still a lot of the freedom afforded by that kind of Metroidvania-inspired design of Asylum, right?
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. All right, rapid fire time. Cool Guy J84 from YouTube. Who are the writers of Arkham Shadow story?
Oh yeah, actually, this is maybe a long answer to a rapid fire question, but here we go. So the initial story concept came from myself and my writing partner for Camouflaj ever since the last 13 years ago, Brendan Murphy. He and I have been collaborating on the story for the last 4 years. But thankfully, we've been able to bring on more writers into the project over time, right? So our colleague here in Japan, Alex O. Smith, who is a legend in the industry, brought just incredible Japanese writing to the English language in a totally different way with Vagrant Story, Final Fantasy XII, and so many other titles. And then more recently, he was at Moon working on Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Wicked. And thankfully, we were able to bring him on full time here at Camouflaj to help out with the story for Arkham Shadow. Joined also by Christopher Sims, who's this Batman expert who's done comic book writing, consulting, reviews for comics, knows everything about Batman, probably more than anything else in the world, I think. And then finally, Jay Howell, who we've been working with since the early days of Camouflaj as well. In fact, I worked with Jay on Metal Gear Solid 4 here in Japan back in 2007, 2008. 2008. So it's a great crew of writers who care very much about the story, and I think are doing a terrific job.
Well, and I wouldn't leave out Paul Alexander either, who you worked with very closely on Marvel's Iron Man VR.
That's true. We do have actually we've learned from Bill Green, who's one of our colleagues, that like the development cycle over at Rocksteady, we do have designers by trade who also lend their writing talents to the game, which I think Paul fits that bill.
Next question from Batarang06 on Discord. Has any of Camouflaj's other games inspired some of the game design elements for this game?
Well, the previous games that we've worked on couldn't be more different, right, than Batman Arkham Shadow. But I think when I look back at the work that we did on Iron Man VR, for example, again, that being a VR game, and so much of the power of VR is that the immersiveness of it. You go into the headset, you have the motion controls and the haptics, and you feel like you're that character. And I think we did an excellent job with our previous game on that, where you look down and you don't have just floating hands. You've got the full suit. You've got your legs represented properly. And the same thing is for Arkham Shadow. We've built out all of Batman's suit. You've got your gauntlets. You've got the Batarang slotted into your chest. You can see the utility belt in your legs, which is really powerful, right? When you do a classic Arkham move such as the glide kick, right? Where you're doing the glide kick and you can see your foot smacking one of those enemies right in the face. I think that sense of immersion and feeling like you're the main character is something that I think has been carried over from the previous title as well. I don't know, did you have anything that you think as a studio that we're bringing from our previous titles, kind of bringing some of that inspiration or some of that talent into Arkham Shadow?
Oh, absolutely. You can see that. I mean, our main combat designer, Troy, he came up with all the verbs in Iron Man VR, and then he did it again for Arkham Shadow, right?
That's true.
And you're going to see that just all the amazing work that he's done has really paid off, and it feels amazing to play an Arkham game in VR, thanks to, I think, his fantastic work.
That's true.
All right, rapid fire question time again. Cade Pocket 7558 from YouTube. Who's composing the score for Arkham Shadow?
Oh, that would be Kazuma Jinochi, longtime collaborator. Also going back to my days on Metal Gear Solid, we sat pretty close together back in 2006, 2007, working on Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. He also was a main contributor for Metal Gear Solid 4. We were able to actually bring him on board over to the Halo 4 project and moved his family out to Seattle. He also contributed to the Republic soundtrack and to Iron Man VR, and now he's lending his talents yet again on Batman Arkham Shadow, and I think the game is sounding amazing. In fact, you get a taste of his talents and what he can do with the Batman universe in the two trailers that we've released thus far.
Next question is from Panu Vandal on YouTube. Is Arkham Shadow going to be point and click like Batman Arkham VR, or will we be able to fully move around as Batman?
Yeah, this is a question we get a lot, and I sometimes have to be reminded that not everybody is as obsessed with VR as we all are at Camouflaj, right? In that, back in 2016, Batman Arkham VR was revelatory, I think, in a lot of ways. It's so well done, such an incredible game, and especially for the time as a launch title around the PlayStation VR timeframe in 2016.
Come here!
And as the person brought up, it's more of a point and click. You teleport to different areas. There's not a lot of open freedom to move around as Batman in that game. And that's okay for what was done at that time in the world of VR.
Ordinarily, I would beg you to take a night's rest, but, well, we have a situation.
Now in 2024, I think it's more of the rule rather than the exception that we have these much larger games where you have full 3D movement wherever you want to go. I think Iron Man VR is an example of that. The Assassin's Creed Nexus game from last year, or Asgard's Wrath 2. That is more of how it functions these days. So these larger experiences, I think, are becoming more and more common, and Arkham Shadow is no different, right? As Batman, right, you could move around as Batman. What do you say, Matt
You
Walker?
can move around. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? You can walk around. You're going to be punching people. You're going to be grappling. There's so much different stuff.
You could walk, slide into vents, go into those floor grates, creep up behind an enemy, take them down.
Oh, dude.
It's just. It has that same fluid feeling as you have as Batman on the flat screen games, but we've translated that, again, all due to the incredible talent of our gameplay designers and engineers to be able to pull that off.
All right, from Mr. Bricks on Discord. How large will the open world be compared to other VR games? Will we get the same feeling as when exploring in the normal Arkham games?
Right, so back when we pitched Arkham Shadow to Warner Brothers in 2020, we were very upfront that we're not going to build a big, expansive open world like Arkham Knight or even Arkham City. For our first take on the Arkham franchise, a franchise that we love and respect so much, we actually proposed that we take a more of an Arkham Asylum approach, where we love the openness afforded by that game, but it does have a smaller play space that still affords a lot of freedom, where just like that game, we have a big open courtyard area where we have the different dungeons that are interconnected that allows players to go into those dungeons. You go unlock a gadget, you can complete the dungeon with that gadget, or you can go back to a previous dungeon, go unlock additional secrets. So we love that gameplay loop of Arkham Asylum, and that was the core inspiration for Arkham Shadow.
Absolutely, and I think it plays really well in VR too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it feels open for a VR game, I think. I think that's fair to say, right?
All right, from Matthew J. Falk on Instagram. Otis Flanagan is traditionally called Ratcatcher in the comics and referenced in previous Arkham games, but according to the trailers, it's alluded his moniker is Rat King. Could you provide some context as to why that is without spoiling?
Yeah, without spoiling. So I think, just to make it really, really clear, Rat King and Ratcatcher are different entities.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if anything, Ratcatcher is a devout follower of the Rat King, who the Rat King is our big villain in the game, very mysterious, and I think it makes sense why people have questions because they've never seen who the Rat King is. He doesn't have any kind of history, not only in the Arkham verse, but also in the DC Comics universe, right? Brand new character that we developed with Warner Brothers Interactive and DC. And yeah, so we actually started first developing that villain, and then we thought, hey, if we've got the Rat King, and you've got Ratcatcher, who's been teased so many times in the previous Arkham games, let's have him become a character in our world, and finally for players to see him in full 3D as a really developed character in the game. I'll also say that we were inspired by the Arkham Origins comic book, the prequel comic book, in which it does feature Ratcatcher, and I was inspired by his character about somebody who's so devoutly following Black Mask, not knowing that obviously, as you find out later in the game, that it wasn't actually Black Mask, it was actually Joker. And so I really wanted to explore this character that put his faith into somebody who actually wasn't who we thought they were, and what does that mean for this character who's maybe willing to do that one more time with the Rat King.
All right, rapid fire time again. From @Hondro on Instagram. Does the story take place all in one day or over several days?
Several days.
All right, from Gotham Paladin on Discord. How faithful will Arkham Shadow be continuity-wise? Are you making sure this game's canon doesn't affect pre-existing lore?
Well, first of all, shout-outs to Gotham Paladin. Great channel. We've learned a lot from him, as obviously the Arkham Videos channel and so many other really great contributors to, I think, the Arkham community. So, first of all, big thanks to Gotham Paladin. And yeah, I know that continuity is very important to him, and it's very important to us, too. You've been in countless meetings, right? We're talking about how can we make sure that we're respecting the existing Arkham games and the comics to an extent. I think we've been pretty consistent that wherever there was some sort of inconsistencies, we would always lean into the games more. We want to try to protect the lore and the continuity of the games more than the comic books. But as I just mentioned, I think we're taking inspiration from the comic books as well. In fact, you were in a meeting, I think even earlier this year, where up on the board we had all of these quotes from the future Arkham titles in the timeline from Arkham Knight. This character said this in Arkham Knight. This character said this in Arkham City. We want to do this story thing in Arkham Shadow, but how can we do this story thing while still respecting what was said and done in the other game? Remember that whole meeting?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the fact of the matter is, I don't think you get enough credit for it within the dev team, but you've really been banging on that drum since the beginning of development. That, in fact, you've actually set it up as one of the pillars for the game.
That's
Authentic
correct.
Arkham.
Authentic Arkham.
It's literally one of the things that we were constantly saying to ourselves on the dev team, because we think it's so important that we are referencing everything we possibly can and making sure that we are not breaking canon anywhere, right?
Right. Yeah, it's not just the canon, but it's also the game and understanding the game. In fact, it was a requirement for all full-time employees at Camouflaj last year to play through all of the Arkham games, right? And to contribute to discussions about what we liked about the games, what we didn't like about the games, how we wanted to, how we were inspired, and the elements we wanted to bring into Arkham Shadow. Yeah, we take this very, very seriously, don't we?
I think we do. All right, from Kureshi Farazuk on Instagram. What was the process like working with returning voice actors such as Roger Craig Smith, and how did their performances influence the development and direction of Arkham Shadow?
Well, I have to say that working with Roger has been a big inspiration for us. We knew early on we wanted to work with Roger, given the fact that our game is set pretty early in the Arkham verse, very early in Batman's career as Batman. And I didn't know what to expect. I never worked with him before, but since the very first phone call, such an amazing collaborator, really cares about the character, always knows his lines, is super scary and intense when he's on, when the cameras are rolling, when at the PCAP stage or at the voiceover booth.
There's a new darkness overtaking Gotham, driving the city mad.
And then when everything is off and it's just kind of chill time, it's like the funniest guy. So that helps a lot because this has been a very intense development, and we're just so lucky to work with Roger and a lot of the other returning cast members who we're not talking about just yet, but I think we have more returning cast members than we have new cast members to the game, which we're excited to reveal over time.
I think so, and frankly, I'm disappointed that I can't mention anything more about who else is in the game.
I know,
yet,
yeah.
Just because, to the question, we've had a couple voice actors that I think have really influenced, what we were going for in the game, and that's all I can say right now.
That's right. That's right.
It's so cool. All right, rapid fire time. At Truman Harwood 8755 on YouTube, will there be other voice actors returning besides Roger Craig Smith?
Yes.
Rapid fire at Brandon Ryan 8177 on YouTube, will we still have the classic game overs and character trophies?
Yes and yes.
Rapid fire at Robin the Robber 127 on YouTube, how about character bios?
Yes.
Rapid fire at Nikodem Witkowski on Facebook, will there be a day/night cycle?
No, unfortunately not.
Rapid fire at Barfus 558 on YouTube, is there a skill tree and progression system?
Absolutely.
At ComicFan1324 on YouTube asks, are there plans for Arkham Shadow to eventually be ported to other VR systems?
Oh, this is the tough question, right? This is the question I think makes a lot of sense in terms of people really wanted the game on other platforms, and we actually look at that as just like the ultimate compliment, right? But when it comes to what our charter is, the reason why we have the privilege to work on this game is because we are now a first-party studio within Meta, within Oculus Studios, and we think of ourselves very similar to other first-party development studios out there, whether it's for PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo, right? And that our job is to make the best first-party title that makes you want to buy the hardware associated with it. So it's very much an exclusive for MetaQuest 3. And one of the reasons why we're so excited about and so proud to be working on this game is because we know that if we do our jobs right and we make an incredible game that everybody wants a MetaQuest 3 for, we know that they're not going to just play the game from start to finish, fall in love with it, and be done with the hardware. There's just so much good content now on the Quest platform that people can enjoy. Just dozens and dozens of games that we can just rattle off. And then also for this year, so many good games coming up on the horizon, whether it's Metro Awakening, or whether it's Alien Rogue Incursion, or whether it's Skydance Behemoth, or Hitman 3's coming to VR, and that's all the stuff that's already announced yet. So yes, very much Batman Arkham Shadow is a Quest 3 exclusive, but yeah, it's our jobs to make it so that's a very easy purchase decision for people when the game comes out this fall.
Exactly. Rapid fire from Ryan Payton on Twitter. Are there any Easter eggs we all missed from the recently released story trailer?
Who's this guy? How'd they let this guy in?
I don't know, man. It's a rapid fire question. Just you don't have time to think about it. Just go.
That's true. So I obviously seeded this question because Arkham Videos, bless his heart, hasn't found all of the Easter eggs in our most recent story trailer. But I have to say that there are some other videos on YouTube that have found some Easter eggs that not everybody has, other channels have found just yet. So, and some of them I think will hint at what's to come in terms of additional villains who might be in the game and some other aspects. So there's still more digging to be done. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Well, we got to get our sleuths on there while we can.
People have to become the world's greatest detective. Yeah, okay.
Ooh, that would have been good. Oh, man, I love it. Rapid fire, Don's on Discord. What was the biggest obstacle the team had to overcome and turn into an opportunity?
Combat. Obviously the biggest challenge, right? The scariest thing. The reason why, when I first got the phone call, do you want to do a Batman Arkham game for VR? You want to go pitch that to Warner Brothers? I wasn't sure I wanted to do it because I didn't think that we could perhaps respect the franchise by doing it right. I didn't know if it was possible to do it in VR. And now, given all the terrific work that the team has done, I'd look at that as what went from a crisis to an opportunity to now arguably the best thing about the game that the element that carries the game from start to finish, wouldn't you say?
Oh man, absolutely. Frankly, again, I have to imagine that this is something that we're going to be showing in our game trailer coming up here soon.
Right.
And I don't want to give away any details or spoil that, but I'll just say we have a game designer named Ryan Darcy who came up with basically the seed for what would become the key component to making this.
Do you remember what the quote was?
I absolutely remember it. I just don't want to spoil it.
Well, how about this? I'll play Ryan Payton and you play Ryan Darcy. It's gonna be tough though, because I don't know if you're as cool as him.
He's so cool.
He's very cool. So we'll go back to 2020.
Okay.
Ryan, and I'm Ryan Payton, right? So, right, Ryan Darcy. I love Batman. I want to do an Arkham game, but there's no way you can translate the free flow, rhythm-based combat from Arkham Asylum, City, Origins, and Night into VR, because what are you going to do? You're just going to walk up to an enemy and punch at him?
No, Ryan Payton, you got it all wrong. Batman doesn't walk across a room. He punches across the room.
And then you just sprinkle on some rhythm-based Beat Saber and time dilation inspirations from Superhot VR, and you've got the combat suite that he and the team have been just building over the last 4 years. It's incredible.
Oh, absolutely, man. God, I can't wait. I can't wait for people to see it. I can't wait. It's so exciting. All right, from art_LaoFaceon2 on Instagram. Both trailers of Arkham Shadow look so cool. When will you release a gameplay trailer?
Oh, perfect timing. So what we're doing right now as a team is obviously we're focused on finishing development work on Batman Arkham Shadow, but also preparing our gameplay trailer reveal, which is going to be shown at Gamescom in the third week of August. We just couldn't be more excited to see the public's reaction to it. We know we've teased it for a while now, but now it's time for us to kind of put up or shut up, right? Here's how the game plays, here's a lot of the features, and here's how the game looks that really utilizes the power of the Meta Quest 3, because we know we've only talked about it up until now, so now it's time to show it, and we just can't wait to see what people think about it.
All right, well, that's it. That's all the questions that we have for today. Is there anything else that you want to say before we go?
Just wanted to, again, thank the Arkham Videos community for these terrific questions, and also to Arkham Videos for hosting this really fun video that we can do together. And lastly, a huge thanks to our colleagues here at Meta in the Tokyo office, allowing us to borrow their beautiful set. You notice the amazing Batman lighting that they did. It's a great privilege. So again, thanks to everybody, and Matt Walker, we have some work to do now.
We got some work to do. We got to get back to the office.
That's true.